And we are live. Thank you all for tuning in. Whether you're watching on Twitter, x.com, whether you're watching on YouTube, you are tuning in to the Barracks, Non-Euclidean Intelligence, bringing you news, theory, geopolitics for a multipolar world. My name is Teray, your sole host for this evening. As of a couple of days ago, it is official. The milkman will be retiring from this stream. It'll be me from here on out. But the work carries on. We appreciate y'all for tuning in, wherever you're tuning in from. Sorry for starting a little late. Apologies for starting a little late. You know, we here at the Barracks, and when I say we, I mean just me. We here at the Barracks, on top of working 50 hours a week, sometimes 60 hours a week, must be pulling in that proletarian job, must be holding down the line to be able to, keep the productive forces of the country going. We're almost in the middle of a government shutdown. We're in the middle of a historic automotive strike. We're still in the middle of sending hundreds of billions of dollars to the Ukraine war, to Ukrainian Nazis, who now we are realizing just how surrounded we are on all sides by Nazis. Canada is completely taken over. So amidst all these crises, it is our responsibility as proletarians to hold down the line of productivity, to make sure that this country continues to expand and become rich. So on top of working 50 hours a week and then finding the time to bring you the news, bring you Marxist-Leninist theory, I am also writing articles. I posted a new article. This is what the stream is based on today on the Barracks X account. Make sure to follow us there. Follow us on Telegram. Thank you all for coming in the room. Let me post links real quick. Let's see. Yes. Bang, bang, board. We cannot scrimp on the aid. Give away all the aid. Yes, Samantha Powers is looking to give more aid to Armenia. Yes, we must give hundreds of billions of dollars to fund insurgents in Armenia. Yeah. And, the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, recently finished his tour in Africa. Yeah, we must give more aid to African insurgents. Al-Shabaab in Somalia needs hundreds of millions of dollars. This is true. This is true. We cannot forget about giving the money to Al-Shabaab. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, formerly Twitter, x.com. Link is in the chat at the Barracks Live. We appreciate y'all. You regulars, the regulars don't retire. Bang, bang, Boyd. I know pretty soon we're going to get Screws and a Bell up in here. I know pretty soon we're going to get Ron Swanson Stalinist in here. The regulars don't retire. No, we're too busy. We're far too busy. Just pardon me while I'm going to have a smoke break in the middle of the show. This is in true proletarian fashion. 50-cent cigarillos. Much as I'd like to be smoking Cuban cigars, like the Tate brothers, we have to stick with what we got. 50-cent Lucy's. This is picked up from the corner store. You know, that's how we do down here in the South. Give you all some time to come in the room to share the video. Join us on x.com. What we'll be talking about today is a recent Bloomberg article. So let me get my my article pulled up here, and we'll get started. All right. So on Tuesday, the publication Bloomberg posted an article that I found out about through Disclosed TV about the CIA coming out with a Chat-GPT style software to scrape massive amounts of data to be able to surveil large populations. Thought to myself, sounds like I need to do some dig. Like, it's very weird that they wouldn't name the the software or the company behind the software. Considering there's really only a handful of private entities that could be able to handle that kind of task. There we go. Article pulled up here. And doing a cursory search through Twitter for people who might have more familiarity with the subject, my research pointed to a little company that you might have heard of called Palantir, otherwise known as the most secretive Silicon Valley startup that does hundreds of millions, tens of billions of dollars worth of contract work for private companies like Bank of America, but most importantly, for the US government. Half of all of the contracts of which, as far as I can tell on public records, go to the Department of Defense. And considering how big this company is, considering it's not yeah, you're right. Bang, bang, void. That's Peter Thiel. Specifically started by, in older articles over the past 10 years, will more often credit Peter Thiel than the current CEO, who also co-founded it, Alex Karp. But Peter Thiel, yes, and others in the PayPal mafia. So good memory there. Yeah, so definitely associated with the PayPal mafia. And that's significant just because of, like, on top of being deeply, deeply embedded in the circles of intelligence agencies, the alphabet soup of intelligence groups in the United States, DHS, FBI, CIA, CBS, Customs and Border Patrol. Alex Karp and Peter Thiel, but specifically Karp, is an alumnus of the Bilderberg and the WEF, the World Economic Forum. He's been frequenting these summits, Bilderberg specifically, since 2012. Every year that there's been, every year that they've had the Bilderberg summit, of the which is a private event that you can only get into if you are invited amongst the top elite, the elite cadre of international finance, of the top dynastic families and corporations, and the most dedicated of government spooks. get access to Bilderberg. More recently, more people might be familiar with the World Economic Forum, which he is also a frequent guest of. This is the guy who has single-handedly created, in his words, he's cornered the market of AI, of a number of different AI services for government use, for defense use, for intelligence use, less frequently, but still just as impactful for the use within the NHS, National Health Services. So like we're dealing with the rollout of pandemic services. Yes, Alex Karp has been busy in intelligence circles, not just not just since the company's founding 10 years ago, but more recently. Just like most of its biggest defense contracts have come in the past 5 years or so. Like more, like right now, the corporation Palantir Technologies Incorporated is worth about $30 billion. Like the company, that's just its net worth. But it's pulling in, like every few years, it'll pull in these hundreds of millions of dollars worth of contracts from the Department of Defense and the U.S. Army. We're going to talk about it. Funnily enough, I wrote this article using Chat-GPT. For those of you who doubt the power of artificial intelligence, the power of the mecha proletariat, the fusion of physical and mental labor in the mecha proletariat. This article, this behemoth of an article that I posted on Twitter, I wrote using ChatGPT. So I highly recommend getting familiar. And the image is AI, obviously. You can probably tell it's AI generated. So Midjourney generated image, ChatGPT generated article. Yes. Alex Karp isn't the only one who can harness the power of artificial intelligence. Elon Musk is not the only one who can harness the power of artificial intelligence. No, that is our responsibility. It's our responsibility to increase the productive forces of artificial intelligence, to flood the private market with a public tsunami of artificially generated articles, journalistic, investigations, tracking down offshore bank accounts of those listed in the Panama Papers. ChatGPT 4 has the ability to browse the open internet now. So who knows? Who knows the capabilities that that we will have at our fingertips? But yeah, AI art seems weird and interesting. Yeah, it depends on. I guess it depends on the prompt that you use. Specifically, all of the articles that if you look up how to make AI generated art, they advertised art. The same biggest articles all use the same gamut of AI generated images that no one else seems able to produce except these influencers. So I don't know, maybe it's just a function of premium services. But even what Midjourney is capable of making at the amateur level, this in particular is very useful. So we don't have to rely on perverse artists e-begging, putting out their Cash Apps and their OnlyFans on Twitter in exchange for mediocre, ironic illustrations, most of which are about their original characters in some furry fan fiction. No longer. Put those people out of work. The writer's strike recently ended. allegedly with the agreement to not use AI-generated scripts. I think that was a mistake. No, we should be increasing the forces of production under artificial intelligence. You know, Alex Karp, who wrote an article for the New York Times, and that's why I chose this image. By the way, I used Midjourney to. You might recognize if you squint your eyes. Like if you squint your eyes at the image for this article that I wrote, you might recognize it as one of the poster images for Oppenheimer, the film. One of the famous images that marketing used for that film was Cillian Murphy standing in front of this miasma of nuclear fire, and I wanted to use that image. I wanted Midjourney to be able to update it for my uses, because Alex Karp himself wrote an article for the New York Times back in July, comparing the development of artificial intelligence with the development of the nuclear bomb. And I consider, side note, I consider all perverts with anime PFTs to be amongst the people who should be thrown out onto the street until they learn to behave properly in public. Anime is perverse. Thank you for the compliment, though. It's not going to save you from your fate until you ditch the anime PFP. No exceptions. But smoke break almost over, and we'll get into the meat and potatoes of it. Smoke break almost over, I promise. But yeah, it's Alex Karp, and more than once he compares the proliferation of AI to the proliferation of nuclear arms, which I called back in July when he actually wrote that article before Oppenheimer came out. I knew that Hollywood, in pushing this film, wanted to conflate the anxiety anytime they push like this period piece. Anytime they push a blockbuster, they're trying to give an outlet of anxiety to, as if it was in the to some anxiety that exists in the past. I had pointed out that the anxiety of artificial intelligence, that if you talk to any random person on the street, as I often do, or at work, with acquaintances, you talk to anybody about artificial intelligence, their initial response is going to be one of anxiety. Not just that we're going to get replaced, that their jobs are going to be automated, but specifically that they're that they're under threat of being, blown up and enslaved by artificial intelligence. Or you might be like or anxiety spread by neoconservatives, that AI is turning China into this slave state where they're living just like it was in like a cyberpunk dystopia, when this is clearly more war profiteering, warmongering. But they can't say that out loud. They can't give accurate representation to this anxiety, so they place it on the past, to the anxiety felt around the proliferation of nuclear armaments. Alex Karp agrees with me, funnily enough. So we're gonna go. So after we're done going over a brief backgrounds of who Palantir is, we'll talk about some solutions. I only briefly mentioned some solutions for what to do in a society like America under this regime of surveillance. I want to go more into that here. Let me know if my Wi-Fi is cutting in and out. I can always take down some of the visuals or turn off my camera or something to improve the Wi-Fi connection. Yeah, smoke break over. And we will get into it. As of Tuesday, so this was 2 days ago, Bloomberg came out with an article, and I talk about this here. Bloomberg came out with an article about how the CIA was coming up with a Chat-GPT style software to be able to collect all of the open source information available, like in these vast silos of corporate data, of government servers, all of these silos of closed off information, to be able to scrape all of these sources, to be able to have one consolidated search function and chat function with the CIA. They had a conversation with Randy Nixon, who is the chief of the open source intelligence division of the CIA, and he seemed quite excited to be able to use this spy technology. The the midwits of the CIA now finally get to use technology that's been out for the past 20 years. And pull up the article here. And this anonymous tool that Bloomberg went into, which was pretty weird that they were being anonymous, like they wouldn't go into detail of what this tool was, would be available across like the mafia of intelligence agencies, CIA, National Security Agency, NSA, most famously leaked by the likes of Edward Snowden, the FBI. All these intelligence agencies would now have access to this program, which they would be able to chat with, to be able to consolidate all of this open source information. And upon further investigation, the corporation which closely matches the profile of this anonymous tool is none other than Silicon Valley's most secretive startup, Palantir Technologies Incorporated, founded by Peter Thiel and Alex Karp. Alex Karp, who is now the CEO of Palantir. The company existed from the start as software that would be sold to intelligence agencies and for defense contracts, to be able to have different services that they would need for digital warfare, for advanced surveillance techniques. The CIA was pretty much the only entity that was interested in funding this corporation. They had gotten their initial seed money from In-Q-Tel, which is the venture capital arm of the CIA. If you didn't know that the CIA has a venture capital farm, now you know. It's called In-Q-Tel. And they had provided the seed money for Palantir. And since then, Palantir has only gotten exponentially more money from the US government and from private entities like Bank of America. And they cut their teeth in such ghoulish events as the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they have since made a resurgence, a heavy appearance in the Ukraine war, not just to track refugees coming out of Ukraine and who have been resettled in Russia, in Poland, in the United States to track these people who are fleeing a war zone using information likely from their cell phones or from public government records. But also, they have their battlefield capabilities include crazy features like that they just sell to the government, like being able to coordinate satellite imagery, so you can query. Meta Constellation is one of the services that Palantir provides. That you can do it. It's like Google search, but for satellites. So you can connect if you want to connect to satellite imagery of a particular location. You can connect all these different satellite images to get a compound picture of certain locations. They have been widely used since at least since the Iraq War for target selection and coordination of different branches of the military to be able to coordinate missions. So obviously the U.S. Army had a lot of investment in funding this technology. Back in 2018, I believe it was, they were awarded $876 million by the U.S. Army, almost $1 billion back in 2018, to be able to expand these capabilities. They were yesterday rewarded $250 million by the U.S. Army because all of these services are being used in Ukraine and against the U.S. population. So there's just billions and billions of dollars invested into expanding the reach of this organization. We'll get into how deeply expansive this organization is. A little bit more about CARP. Yeah. So this is a very spooky individual, deep ties to the CIA, to intelligence agencies. So he has more than a decade's worth of experience with national security. Palantir, his company, also has connections with that same constellation of intelligence agencies that was mentioned in the Bloomberg article. The NHA, the DHS, FBI, which is why I personally believe that this was the corporation that is now being made to use this sort of like killer app. The reason that I call it a killer app is because Palantir, one of the more famous rumors circulating about Palantir, which the company will neither confirm nor deny, was that it was the company responsible for producing the software which tracked down Osama bin Laden. And a writer named Tom Bowden, I believe his name is Tom Bowden, who wrote a book a decade ago about the assassination of bin Laden. He is the one who called Palantir the killer app. Mark Bowden, that's his name, Mark Bowden. So this is the company, and this is the man, Alex Karp, who is behind the monopolization of AI by the U.S. government, who I also, as I pointed out at the beginning of the stream, has been pushing a lot of that same anxiety, that same fear about artificial intelligence, comparing it to nuclear armaments, and helping foment this fear of arbitrary enemies of the United States, like people will say China is. When they get access to AI, they will use it to enslave their population and they'll use it to spy on the United States. When really, like, this is a clear case of projection, because all of the things that the U.S. government will accuse China of doing, America does to its own citizens, as Edward Snowden revealed during his leaks of the NHA, that Julian Assange revealed when he founded WikiLeaks, and who has remained in prison under intense torture since his arrest several years ago. This is, I want to make clear just how hell-bent on monopolizing intelligence for government purposes and for private corporate purposes people like Alex Karp are, the PayPal mafia, including Peter Thiel, who co-founded this company. Because to have a monopoly on this profoundly invasive tech has given them the means to enslave enslave the American population as a whole. It's funny that Bloomberg wants to talk about this article, and saying that the CIA has this technology, when really the CIA has had this technology for 20 years. They are just, Palantir only went public back in 2019, and so had more scrutiny into its business dealings. But it's been well documented, just how deeply involved this company is with the CIA. It's formed the nexus. It's this nexus of the unholy alliance between government intelligence and private finance, which has gotten so used to scraping every last bit of private information about us that even open source intelligence could, legally speaking, mean just about anything. Randy Nixon, who was interviewed by Bloomberg, who is the chief of the open source intelligence division of the CIA, said that even information which can only be made available by purchasing from the government counts as open source. Information which is supposed to be kept confidential by the government, and which is supposed to be kept confidential by private entities, by law, and which can be purchased by the government, legally qualifies as open source intelligence. So there is no credibility left for these spooks who have so deeply penetrated our private lives that our most personal information is open source, is a matter of public record, is easily searched by any number of these alphabet soup intelligence agencies who cannot be trusted with this immense power, who have revealed to us that our one salvation rests on dismantling their shadow government once and for all. There you have it, folks. That's the that's the overview of Palantir. We're going to go into specifics of who these people are. The organization, the service that I use to, do some deep dives into entities like this. I use Wikispooks. So shout out to Wikispooks for helping compile links into this, into Alex Karp and to Palantir Technologies Inc. But specifically, some of the list of many attacks against civil liberties that Palantir has been involved in was they were directly partnered with Cambridge Analytica. If you will remember, Cambridge Analytica was the company which harvested data from millions of citizens to be able to influence the US presidential election. Democrats want to talk about Russian interference, but at the same time as they were going on about Russian election interference, companies like Cambridge Analytica, in partnership with Palantir, were stealing massive amounts of private information and using Facebook accounts and to target, using this information to specifically target users for specific advertisements that would influence their decisions during the U.S. presidential election, during the 2016 election. Palantir helped coordinate all this massive data sets to be able to make image maps to more easily parse through it. They were involved in the distribution and prediction of outbreaks for the pandemic, to be able to distribute all of the jabs being pumped out during Operation Warp Speed. They were involved in, like I said, doing massive surveillance campaigns and target selection for Iraq and Afghanistan, where in the Iraq War, where over 1 million Iraqi civilians were killed. 1 million Iraqi civilians ended up as viable targets in the war on terror that birthed this company. Those are the those are the big ones. And a couple of years ago, this is one of the articles compiled on Wikispooks about Palantir. Vice Media had compiled a number of use cases that Palantir hides behind this corporate language. Yes, selection sounds so accurate. Yeah, Palantir, like all of these spook organizations, will hide their attacks against civilians behind this corporate language. But Vice Media, this article that came out back in 2019, August 2019, detailed the ways in which Palantir was specifically used, the capabilities it had. So I think it's worth, I think it's worth going over these videos. So I'm going to share my screen once more. Make sure to share the video, by the way. If you haven't retweeted the article on x.com, make sure to do so. We here at the Barracks, are always looking to expand our capabilities to bring this kind of reporting, to wider audiences. Yeah. So here is one of the videos compiled on Vice from 3 years ago, where it was a demonstration, a Palantir demonstration by one of the Palantir services, Prescient, when explaining its commitment to applying cutting-edge analytic technologies and methodologies to support government and commercial clients. Again, more of that corporate language, which in real time...
The premier provider of data analytics services combines the most advanced technologies and analytic techniques to solve our clients' complex problems. Our analysis as a service team, leveraging the best-in-class analytic platforms, can assist law firms conducting data-intensive investigations and discovery to achieve the desired result. The following notional investigation is based on real-world examples of prescience analysts providing quick, comprehensive, and compelling analysis to major international law firms. The demo scenario is as follows. The Acme Auto Corporation has recalled its flagship car, the Excelsior, due to faulty wiring that causes the car to fill with smoke. The company thoroughly investigated the problem and issued a highly confidential report. Although the report had limited circulation, many employees had a hand in its creation and may have seen it in some form. Ultimately, the report concluded that Acme executives were unaware of the faulty wiring until the recall was issued. But a popular car blog has just released a story claiming that an inside source within Acme left an over 10-minute voicemail on the blog's anonymous tip line. The tipster alleges that Acme executives knew about the defect well in advance of the recall and worked to keep it from the public. The story includes very specific information that could have only come from the internal report, albeit with a different conclusion. Acme Auto executives strongly claim innocence on this charge and have hired outside counsel to find the source of the leak. We begin by ingesting the relevant Acme corporate email and phone information. First, turning to email, using traditional methods, we can quickly search to determine whether the report was emailed or otherwise sent outside of the distribution list. This email search turns up empty.
So already, it's a 5-minute video, but already you can get some of the implications of what this is capable of plugging leaks, corporate leaks. But if you use a little imagination, plugging government leaks to be able to track down where information is shared. And Alex Karp has talked about this before, about countering the capabilities of whistleblowers, whether they exist, in these car companies or within public offices. That's one of the more troubling use cases that who knows how much it's been used, especially in during Obama's presidency. Palantir has existed all throughout Obama's presidency. Obama, who jailed more journalistic sources than any other U.S. president combined. Barack Hussein Obama, who waged a war on freedom of the press, likely had access to this kind of technology to be able to track down leaks in order to prosecute journalistic sources, eviscerating constitutional freedom of the press, freedom of association. And that's just one of Palantir's services. And Vice goes on to say that these sorts of methods can be applied to a host of other scenarios. And in this next video provided by Vice, the company Palantir claims that the same tools can be used to track the political and military dimensions of Kim Jong-un's ascension to power in North Korea. So, like I said, it has military applications just as much as it does private applications. The shift towards this open source intelligence style of spying, not just journalism, like you see with the likes of Bellingcat, whereas Max Blumenthal calls them Bellincop. Open source intelligence gathering, not just as a methodology for journalism, but also for spycraft. And in the last video provided by Vice, Prescient claims that Palantir's tech can help a user map out the connections between various people and neighborhoods involved in the 2011 UK riots. So being able to track your location. If you remember that scene from The Dark Knight where Batman uses all of the digital imaging from every cell phone in Gotham City to make a real-time map of everyone's location. That is the software that Palantir has access to and has used to track UK rioters. So again, these Hollywood blockbusters, again, to talk about anxieties that exist in real life, are used to pull attention away from where that anxiety should actually exist. It's not for for the abuses of some fictional characters, but for real technology that the U.S. government has access to and has used to spy on citizens for their right to peacefully assemble, to be able to come forward to the press, to document abuses of power. And the fact that Alex Karp, since 2012, has been to every single Bilderberg meeting pushing this relationship to surveillance is, it's telling that this relationship that the government has to private individuals is not going away and is only going to escalate. Considering his massive involvement in the Ukraine war and his government contracts are continuing to drop, his latest one happening just the other day for $250 million, they have no reason to give up monopoly control of this technology. So that's so that is the difference between the United States and a country like China, who has utilized AI for the rapid expansion of their productive forces. This, I think, is what I want to go into for the solutions that we should be thinking about. Obviously, disbanding the CIA, but in practice, thinking beyond just the disbanding of the CIA. First of all, understanding that open source intelligence is not just the weapon of the CIA. They're using these tools, giving them to making them like open source, giving them to corporations, specifically so that they can not rely so much on their personnel to be able to track down individuals, giving this technology to bad actors, who are the elites in corporate in the Fortune 500, to be able to track down individual workers and attack dissidents within different companies. Being able for journalistic groups like Bellingcat to increase their de facto police work. So disbanding the CIA, though I think that's an important task, is not the sole task. And what I believe is the long-term solutions for battling this regime of the intelligence mafias is to increase decentralized relationships with AI for small businesses, for individuals, for private citizens, to be able to increase their capacity to use AI, to increase AI forces. If Alex Karp wants to make the comparison that artificial intelligence is the same, like the arms race for artificial intelligence has the same urgency as the arms race for the nuclear bomb, then, and this is a metaphor, YouTube, to become like Iran, to become like North Korea, to be rogue actors using AI forces to increase the production of small businesses, to increase coordination between small businesses and between individuals, to be able to eliminate the division of labor between physical laborers and mental laborers, to be able to put out of work all of these laptop, the laptop class, all of these lazy midwits in Silicon Valley, in Wall Street, who work to just manage the productive forces of America, to surveil the productive forces of America, whose job is to do all of the accounting work and all of the and to distribute top down executive goals, and to be able to act as the nodes of communication between industries, to replace this reactionary sector of the economy, so that we who directly deal in physical labor and who run small localized businesses have the means to communicate with each other, to coordinate our own industries, to become the rogue actors of artificial intelligence, become the basilisk that Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and Alex Karp fear most, where we surveil them, where we now use Chat-GPT 4, which has access to the open internet, to be able to compile all of the well-documented crimes against humanity that they have committed and expose these crimes to the general public. We need to increase our relationship with these powerful technologies, because, as Marx said, you cannot eliminate slavery by abolishing the tools of the slave. I'm paraphrasing, but you cannot abolish slavery by abolishing the spinner's wheel, or abolishing the cotton gin. You abolish slavery by abolishing the relationship that the worker has to these tools. We become so productive with artificial intelligence that we become a dual and contending power. With journalism specifically, I would like to remind you that I wrote half of this article on the Barracks X account. Half of that article I wrote using Chat-GPT, the free version, not even the premium version. So all of these hours of labor saved to be able to bring you this article, as well as the header image, artificially generated, to create unique and gripping and urgent content, at a pace that these professional class of people, at the New York Times and the legacy media can produce, to put you at their level, so you don't rely on these reactionary media parasites to disseminate the information that keeps people, informed about the most pressing issues of our time. So I want to thank everyone who has tuned in so far. I want to thank everyone who is watching on YouTube specifically, because YouTube, like it or not, is the kingmaker of online content. If you grow your YouTube persona, everything else follows. But we here at the Barracks who are trying to produce journalistic content, I think relying more on x.com and also to a lesser extent Telegram to be able to get out our message is our priority. Yes, things really are beginning to shift. There is a reason, that Elon Musk, the richest individual on Earth, well, no, he's no longer the richest individual, but you know what I mean. There is a reason that he fears the proliferation of artificial intelligence. There is a reason that he is superstitious about the phantoms of artificial intelligence, such as Rocco's basilisk. If you don't know, is a famous thought experiment about the perils of artificial intelligence. There's a reason he fears this. It's because the working class is the basilisk. The working class will have untold levels of productivity when they seize the tools of artificial intelligence from the likes of spooks like Alex Karp. They fear us, and they should, because we here at the barracks, we know, metaphorically speaking, YouTube, we are like Iran. We are like North Korea, the rogue actors of harnessing harnessing the proliferation of advanced cybernetic thinking. Yeah, Elon wants Neuralink to shut this shit down. Yeah, Allah preserve us. Allah preserve us when Neuralink gets the ability to plug into, Palantir, where Alex Karp will be able to read your very thoughts. And that's to get philosophical for a second. This is why I have full confidence in China to be able to utilize artificial intelligence, because they are what Alexander Dugin calls a telluric civilization, the enclosed society. Palantir is the representation, is the open society in full flower, where now your very private personal life, every private detail about you, even details you might not necessarily know about, like your overall spending habits, are now intimately known by Palantir. Is now your individual private life is out in the open. It's open source intelligence. Whereas China, the Chinese civilization, the Communist Party of China, has used artificial intelligence in a telluric way, where they don't feel the need to use it to surveil on other countries, nor on their population. They're using it in an enclosed way to coordinate their population, to expand their manufacturing capabilities, to make more efficient their economy, their transportation, their supply chains. They're not using this as a weapon of class war, and if they are, it's a class war against the bourgeoisie, the native Chinese bourgeoisie, who might think about committing treason. In which case, I support this. But specifically, the enclosed society, enclosing production, such that the fruits of the working class, the commodities that they produce, most benefit them. This is what AI is being used for, and these think tank apparatchiks, the alumni of the Hoover Institution and the Cato Institute, these libertarian utopian midwits, or the neoconservative Trotskyists. They project this growth as equivalent to what they are doing to the American population. Nothing could be further from the truth. We should harness, at least in the short term, for small businesses, for individuals, the telluric power of artificial intelligence to coordinate amongst each other. This, I think, is the more enduring solution to battling the market monopoly that Palantir has on AI. At least in a government sense, government services. Because again, like Marx said, Engels said this in Socialism, Utopian and Scientific. The forces of production outpace the forces of the market. So if you want to beat back monopoly, if you want to beat back finance monopolies that Bank of America and JP Morgan and Wall Street have on surveilling your private information, then you got to increase production. You got to increase production of using Chat-GPT to run the administration of your business, to be able to use Chat-GPT to increase the surveillance against the ruling class, to increase the production of these technologies in supply chains. It can, we have, like, the technology's been out for 20 years. It's just that we have only gained access to it within the past year. We have some catching up to do. So while we push to disband the CIA and the FBI, we must continue to develop as an American working class, to become the Mecca proletariat that we were always destined to be. With that, we've hit the 1 hour mark. I appreciate y'all who have been tuning in for as long as you have. Make sure to follow us on Telegram at the Barracks News. Link in the chat right down there. Bring it up here. Yeah, at the Barracks News on Telegram. You should also follow us on Twitter, or formerly Twitter, on x.com, at the Barracks Live, where we are bringing you hard-hitting reporting, whenever we find the time. Again, I wrote this article on my break. I work minimum 50 hours a week. I wrote this article on break. That is the kind of power you have in your free time. Just putting that out there. You should give us a follow on x.com, on Telegram, to keep up with the latest. With that, I think we have done enough of a deep dive. Perhaps we will revisit Palantir in the future. I'm always looking to keep these spooks in the spotlight. They can't hide from the eye of the basilisk. With that, folks, clip it, wrap it up, put a bow on it. We've reached the end of this stream. That's all I got. I'm out.